Okay, so the security guards just asked me to move because I was on Torrance Memorial Hospital property without permission to film, so I moved a few feet. So here's a longer video with a longer story. A story that's very tragic and that might have already happened to somebody you care about. As somebody you cared about suffering with an illness right now and they're not getting the cure, they're not getting cured, they're getting treatments that don't work or that barely work? Or did you lose somebody in the last 20 years to some illness and you wondered if maybe there was a solution that didn't get tried? So I started working with my dad 20 years ago. He was a professor of medicine at UCLA for 35 years and a doctor for 50 years. In the 1970s, he was the founding medical director of the Pritikin Longevity Center, which is the longest profitable healthy living program in the world of its kind, now in a Trump-owned hotel on Miami Beach. And here's the book he published back in 1984. In 12 weeks, you can control your high blood pressure without drugs. It was endorsed by more top health experts than any book that I've ever seen, including three professors at UCLA, 2 at Harvard, 1 at Stanford, 1 at the University of Texas, Albert Einstein University, University of Rochester. All those reviews are in the book. It's available on Amazon now. We republished it in 2002, and Amazon has been selling it without our authorization and printing on demand for the last few years, and they are refusing to turn it over to us. But you're welcome to buy it. It's $26. We want to lower the price to more like 10, I think. Some more details. So 20 years ago, when I started working with my father, what happened is that he developed atrial fibrillation, a heart problem. He was working a lot at Healthcare Partners Medical Group, which he was one of the founders of in Los Angeles. It's one of the largest medical groups in the country, and the largest private groups. And so he was working there and taking care of patients at nursing homes where people are dying. They're taking tons of drugs and they're suffering and their family is distraught and crying, and it was a horrible job. But after years in prevention, his company, Healthcare Partners, shut down the prevention program, and my dad had to go work with the drugs again. So they didn't have a lot of interest in prevention. But at that time, he developed the atrial fibrillation, and he was telling me about it over a few months. He was taking flecainide, which is doctor prescribed. Dr. David Canham, the top expert in the world on atrial fibrillation, one of them. And it wasn't working, and Dr. Canham said, you ought to try catheter ablation, which he was pioneering, where they burn off the nerves on your heart that have gotten overgrown from too much stress. So that really alarmed me, so I started going to UCLA's medical library, and for about a month, going up and down the stairs, copying medical studies about atrial fibrillation, and I found out it was caused by stress. But Dr. Canham apparently didn't go into detail on that. He probably mentioned it, but knowing my dad probably said, no, I'm fantastic, everything's fine and wonderful, because he was a workaholic, like most doctors. So I told my dad, I gave him the stack, and he said, oh my God, I got to retire. He retired. He cashed out of Healthcare Partners, got $5 million. He put it into a foundation called No More Medicines. It's about getting beyond the pills that don't work in actuality. So for all those people that think the pills work, like for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, etc., well, my dad was there at the nursing homes for 10 years, and they were taking all those drugs, and they were still suffering and dying from lack of exercise, eating a terrible diet, and having lots of stress. So if you have all those problems and you eat tons of drugs, it doesn't reverse anything. Dr. Dean Ornish has been saying that for 30 years, as have many other top prevention experts. Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Herbert Benson at Harvard, etc., etc. So he retired, created this foundation. Unfortunately, he got the wrong guy running it, and he stole $1 million. Wells Fargo stole $1 million they were managing his money. You heard about that scandal in the news, Trish Littman. She was the money manager. So anyway, more recently, again, he got poisoned with a bad drug, memantine. It was given to him against our will, and obviously against his wishes. He was temporarily in a nursing home 2 years ago, and we showed everybody there his book, No Drugs Please. Behind our back, they gave him a tranquilizer, and they gave him memantine. Now, memantine was developed at UC San Francisco to block glutamate in the brain, because they figured out glutamate is destroying brain cells. Well, glutamate is a stress chemical, and so my dad had a lot of stress. Right when he developed the dementia 8 years ago, I know I'm inserting a new detail, he was under a huge amount of stress. That was when Wells Fargo was trying to foreclose on him after they stole a bunch of money. So all of a sudden, just his health went over a cliff. Severe dementia. So for the last 6 years, we've totally stabilized it. But then he ended up in the hospital, and in a nursing home for a week to get physical therapy. Okay, let me back up a little. So he went into the hospital because he had pneumonia. He was in bed for 2 weeks. He became really weak. He couldn't walk again at that point. They sent him in the nursing home for a short time to get physical therapy. My mom was going there every day to do the physical therapy. And we have the video of him walking 100 feet with a walker and with the assistants, these two people. My mom was going in for weeks. Then she didn't come for a few days, and they cut the physical therapy. They put him on the memantine and the antidepressant. And then the head of the physical therapy wrote on the notes, it's hopeless, he's non-compliant, and he's plateaued. And so Medicare cut off the physical therapy, and they ejected us from the nursing home. So we've tried to fight it, but it's like this phone number 1 million miles away, and no, sorry, he's not one of our family. Nope. So we took him home, and it was a terrible experience ever since. Taking care of him, watching him deteriorate. Then the Loma Linda University doctor refused to prescribe physical therapy. Why? It's hopeless, he said. There's no hope. It's not going to help. Well, he's curled up like a pretzel, his legs. Physical therapy, massage, stretching out his legs 3 or 4 or 5 times a week, that could reverse that hypertonia. It's a symptom of memantine overload, side effect. So now he's here in the hospital. The doctor wants to kick him out, won't give him physical therapy. He's in terrible shape, but he's still alive. So they want to send him home to suffer and die in our house, and no help. And we're drawing the line right here. So we invite you to join us. You might be in a similar situation. Maybe somebody you care about is not getting what they need. If you join us, we'll try to help you too. Donate $5, $10, $20, $100, whatever. It can help a huge amount because it shows that somebody cares and somebody put in a positive vote. So I look forward to meeting you. I'll be here. I'm staying at the Best Western. If you want to contact me, if you have any trouble donating, on Torrance Boulevard, and I'll be here, Palos Verdes Peninsula Center, passing out a 2-page letter with my team, people that know my dad and care about him. And Del Alma Mall, okay? It's a community square where we have a right to pass out information and meet people.